lag, but we're all good.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, I think we're live. Check on there now, Brian. Let's see on Facebook if we're live.
Yep, you're live. I got to click on your icon, your photo here. There we go. Hey, now
Awesome.
we're live.
Awesome. So live here. My name is Ryan Shea. This is Dr. Bryan Jack Holder. We are just a couple of just regular dudes from Iowa who grew up in Council Bluffs, Iowa. I'm currently in Texas. Just one little shameless plug while we're on here, and if this gets to someone's recording, I always say no one comes through the state of Texas without coming through me first. I'm in real estate, do primarily residential, so think of me as like the governor of Texas. You have to come to me and get the real okay to come here. But yeah, this is about I wanted to do this live. Brian and I have been friends for many, many years, played basketball together, and we could probably talk about basketball for the next hour. Maybe we will talk a little basketball, but yeah, but Brian is running for a political position in the state of Iowa. I've been trying to wrap my head around exactly what's going on. I know he'll elaborate on what positions he's running for, and it seemed a little confusing to me when I actually, Brian, if you want to comment on this, it seemed a little confusing to me on like where you're running, because I know that you're a Pottawatomie County is your home county, but it even looked like the seat that you're running in is not even covering the full portion of Pottawatomie County. Is that correct? And
That is
that
yeah,
correct?
you're correct. Since the mid 60s, there was a Supreme Court case which said that all state legislative districts have to be equal population. So before the mid 60s, each county in Iowa, and Iowa has 99 counties, each county had their own state representative. Mm-hmm. Well, when this Supreme Court opinion came out, they had to make these legislative districts cross county lines. So probably, I don't think there's a single legislative district now in the state of Iowa that is contained within, that doesn't cross a county line at some point. So
why did they do that? What's the reason? That makes no sense to me.
Well, here's the reason is that some of these counties had just a few thousand people and others had hundreds of thousands of people. And there was a malapportionment in terms of the political power that these counties had. So the sparsely populated counties had as much voting power in the Iowa House as, say, Des Moines, which is in Polk County.
Right.
And this was especially bad in the South, where a lot of the African Americans had moved from the rural areas in those states to the urban areas, and they were grossly underrepresented. So these legislative districts now cross county lines, and I live in the most populated county in this quadrant of the state in Southwest Iowa. And here's what I don't know if you can see that.
Not really.
No, not showing up. So the district I'm in is one whole county and a portion of the county that I live in. And it's about 33,000 people. So there's a county that's a full county north of me called Harrison that has 14,600 people. And it's joined with 17,000 of the 93,000 people in Pottawatomie County. So it's a difficult race to run in because I'm running against two opponents that are in an entire county where they live, and it's a political community of itself. And then my county is carved up into 5 different districts. So I just happen to be in a sliver of my county that is now joined to the county to the north.
Okay. Because I'm from there, obviously. Give me an idea of how those 5 districts got put together in Pottawatomie County, excuse me.
Yeah, what happens is the city of Council Bluffs, which is the county seat of Pottawatomie County, has about 63,000 people in it. So 2 state legislative districts fit within the city of Council Bluffs, but then the other 30,000 people outside of the city of Council Bluffs get divided amongst 3 different districts. So, like I said, about 17,000 people are in the district I'm in, and then there's another 8 or 10,000 people that are in a different district, and another 4 or 5,000 people that are in a different district. So,
is your district that you live in, is that like Crescent and like North?
Yeah, no, it's Crescent, which is north of Council Bluffs, but it's also Underwood, which is northeast of Council Bluffs, and it's all the subdivisions on the east side of Council Bluffs, and some of them are actually within the city limits. And then the Lewis Central School District, which is south of Council Bluffs, is in this legislative. So the district I'm in sort of wraps around the entire city of Council Bluffs from north, east, and south.
Okay. Of course, I'm familiar with all those areas. And my mom lived in Lewis Central, went to school there for a minute.
Yeah, the district with this county to the north and then the portion of Pottawatomie, it looks sort of like a funnel. It's wide at the top and very narrow at the bottom. So by the time you get around the city of Council Bluffs, this district that I'm in may only be 2 or 3 miles wide.
And kind of what I was envisioning, what you were sharing, was almost like a fish hook, like goes across the north. If my head is Council Bluffs, it kind of goes around the north. And then I think of Lewis Central down here at the south part of Council Bluffs. But what you were talking about on the east side, it's almost like I guess that would be my thing is reversed here. It's like a C or something. It's like that around Council Bluffs.
Yeah, it looks very, very funny. Let's see if this I don't know if this map will show up. Yeah, there
it kind of does when you angle it.
If I angle it, I don't know if you can see the shape of it, but it's sort of shaped like a funnel. It's very narrow at the bottom and wide at the top.
Yeah, and then I guess kind of like the west end of Council Bluffs is in another district or something.
Yeah, that's in another district, and the west end of Council Bluffs. At some times they divide the city of Council Bluffs between north and south and east and west. And the current iteration of the district is sort of west and north of the center, which is Broadway. And then it's east and south of Broadway.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, you have a lot of, what I kind of just initially think, and that's a lot of land. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of different areas. Some of those places, I'm sure you're very, very familiar with. Maybe I shouldn't maybe bring this up, but some of the people in Harrison County might be a little resentful at maybe some basketball victories or something that have happened in the past.
Oh, well, there's football rivalries with the St. Albert football team. There's soccer. And so these communities that I would represent, my high school is sort of a rival with some of these communities. And I may not, hopefully it's not this way, but I may not receive votes just because I went to a high school that defeated their team in some district or sub-state game to go to the state tournament. So
yeah, unfortunately, obviously would never want anything like that to happen, because there's a real serious problem going on in politics right now. And one of the reasons I want to do this interview with you, Bryan, is I know you're sincere. I grew up with you. I know where you're from. You and I have spent a lot of time playing pickup basketball and at school and stuff together. And I know you're honest. I know you're sincere. Are you perfect? No, I know you're not. Just like none of us are, you know, we're
I'm a
all,
sinner. I'm a sinner, and
yeah.
we all sin.
And so, but there's this serious issue going on within politics, and most of these people who are and gain power or are in these positions have totally sold out. And you can argue with me on that. All I have to do now, I listen to them. I listen to what these people say. They'll say one thing and do another. You know, to me,
Right.
that's not the principles and values that you and I grew up with. You know, going to St. Albert High School, it's just not. You know, I was always taught to, you know, tell the truth, be honest, do the
Yeah.
right thing, show up, be where you said you're going to be, and you know, we were also successful in sports. And one of the reasons we were successful is because, man, if we didn't show up on time, you didn't play. It was like simple stuff like that, you know, and there was discipline in order for us to be successful. And I don't see that discipline within these people. Basically, their discipline is, um, I don't know, lie, cheat, and steal, and greed beyond belief that I think is totally unacceptable. And you know, we could go off on a major tangent on that and what I just shared. But
Yeah.
you know, to tell me, Bryan, what seat are you running for? What we just explained there at the beginning in your area, what is that you're running for?
It's called Iowa House of Representatives, District 15, and so they number the Iowa House districts every 10 years after they do the reapportionment and the redistricting. And so in the last decade, I lived in Iowa House District 22. So I haven't moved, but the district boundary lines have moved. And this happens to most of us in America, that every 10 years, whatever district we're in gets renumbered and the lines get moved. And our representatives, sometimes they live closer to us, sometimes they live further away. But I've done some root cause analysis of the problems in this country, and from my perspective, the problem is the legislative districts, the constituencies are so large and too large that these candidates have to basically sell themselves out to win election, because they need either tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars to reach enough voters to win a plurality of the vote, or a majority. But oftentimes they don't even have a majority. They just have a plurality of the vote. So they're not even at 51% of the voters supporting them being in that office. So my theory is, if we have smaller districts, our representatives are going to be closer to us. They're going to be more accessible and more accountable. And the campaign will not be as expensive because you don't have to reach tens of thousands of people that may live in other counties in order to win their vote. So
like, if you, with this district thing, this sounds like there's multiple districts, but you'd be a proponent of your district you would represent, period.
yeah, I don't think you should represent people that live in other counties if you're running for a state legislative district, because you're not part of their community. If they live in another county, for here in Iowa, for instance, I don't get to vote on who the county supervisors are in Harrison County, which is the county north of me that I would represent in the state legislature. I can't vote for any county officers in that county to elect their county auditor, their county attorney. I couldn't serve in an appointed office in that county. Each county in Iowa has a compensation board of people that are appointed by their board of supervisors to approve salaries and salary increases and bonuses. So, and right now my state representative is someone in Harrison County, so he can't vote in Potawatomi. He doesn't live here. He's not part of the community. He doesn't pay taxes to the school districts And as far as I'm concerned, he's a foreigner. He's a foreign county resident.
Yeah, that's wild.
It is.
That's
And I
really
never
crazy.
see this person. And, you're supposed to see your representatives in your daily life. You run into them at a ball game, you see them at the grocery store, the gas station. And having that connectedness with our representatives, it creates that social bond and that, I don't want to use the T word, but there's more trust in someone and even if they vote against your interests, at least you can have a conversation with them. But when they live in another county, in Iowa, some of our state senators live, my state senator lives 3 counties away. So he lives 60 miles from me, and I'm never going to see the guy. And if I had a concern with the legislation, he could just ignore my phone calls and texts. And I'd have to drive 100 miles round trip to, go to his house to have a conversation with him.
Yeah. So I hear you saying that you're a proponent of decentralized government,
Yes.
uh, smaller, uh, more intimate, I would say, relationship with who our representatives are. And to me, when you were sharing that, because my mind goes to sports a lot of times, it'd almost be like, let's say we were playing Missouri Valley, St. Albert was playing Missouri Valley. And it'd be like Coach Wettengale going up and coaching the Missouri Valley team, and the Missouri Valley coach coming down and coaching St. Albert.
Right. That's exactly right. Or our school superintendent being the superintendent of a school that's 50 miles away.
Yeah, makes no
We
sense.
it makes no sense. And the legislatures of Iowa and other states that have to comply with this legislative districts being roughly the equal population, the solution would have been 60 years ago to add more seats if you wanted to maintain the integrity of the county as a political decision-making unit.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would have taken the least populous county in Iowa, and that would have been the size of all other legislative districts. So a county that had 10,000 people, say that was your smallest one, then a county of 100,000 people would have 10 state representatives, which
Mm-hmm.
would be in conformity and in compliance with the principle that the Supreme Court elucidated there was a whole line of cases about one person, one vote. So I don't have a problem with the one person, one vote concept, but you look at our federal Congress, the U.S. House of Representatives has 435 members, and their districts are roughly 750 to 800,000 constituents. So how does let me show my finger. How does one person represent 800,000 people? They don't.
Yeah.
They try, they pretend, but they don't really. And then these people that get elected to these offices, they've had to take money from people that don't live in their district, that can't vote for them. They take money from people that live in other states. And so some states, the state elections are basically bought and paid for by outsiders from other states.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Brian. Bringing up money, have you taken any money from PACs or APAC?
No, I've never taken any money from anybody to
No.
run in all these. I've run for the U.S. House of Representatives 5 times, and this is the third time I will appear on the ballot for the State House of Representatives. And I like not taking campaign contributions, which I basically consider it a bribe paid in advance before the person gets elected. You're going to owe favors to those people that supported your candidacy and paid for it. And unfortunately, a lot of these people put the demands and the needs of the donor class ahead of their constituents, who are really the bosses of these elected officials. We're supposed to be their boss, and they're supposed to be our employee, but it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, and ultimately, Brian, if you're representing someone, like you're representing your neighbor, right?
Right,
Why
Right.
any money that comes from any outside thing is 100% right. It doesn't matter if it's APAC, PACs, whatever kind of money that anyone would receive from even the parties. It doesn't matter. They
Right.
do not care. This whole idea of love your neighbor as yourself, that does not ever come into politics ever. You will never hear anyone ever campaign on love your neighbor as yourself. Just won't
No.
ever come up. They won't ever talk about it. And I would challenge anyone. No one would, none of these people would ever do an interview with me, but because I'm going to ask them that question. Do you receive outside money? Do you receive PACs money? And I think I asked you this, and I don't want to mean to put you on the spot, but I mean,
No.
how many of these representatives and senators in Iowa have taken APAC and PACs money?
Well, all of our U.S. Congressional delegation, and when I say congressional delegation, I'm including the U.S. House members. Iowa has 4 U.S. House members and 2 U.S. senators, and all of them have taken money from APAC to get elected as U.S. senators and U.S. representatives. So
So to
they've
me,
all
when I hear that, I hear someone who's not interested in the who they're actually and truly representing. We think we're being represented, but we're not being represented by someone who's genuine and really has our best interest. They're totally not. They don't care. They have no desire to represent us in a way that's really going to benefit us. I mean, we've got a few people. I don't know how many are live on all of these other platforms, and I lost when I was thinking of something. I was going to ask a question to everyone, like, whose taxes has gone down in the past for their life. Taxes
right.
have continued to go up. Insurance costs have gone up. An apple costs 50 freaking dollars. Gas is 4 or 5, depending on where you're at, just astronomical. The cost of living has just skyrocketed. Like, what are these people doing for us? Yet here it is. We're like the people who are actually truly hardworking people that are sincerely trying to make a living, working their butts off, 2 and 3 jobs, doing all this stuff. But then you have these politicians accepting hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars from who? From Israel? That's fantastic. What does anyone in Iowa have to do with Israel? Nothing. They start with the same letters. That's it. There's nothing. There's nothing with that kind of money that has anything to do with anyone in the state of Iowa, the state of Texas, anywhere. By the way, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If they're doing that, they are selling you out. Period.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like it, too bad. I'm telling you, it's the truth. And you can say, oh, whatever. It's Ryan or Brian and talking. No, it is the honest truth, and it's the way it is. And until we start realizing that and truly, sincerely recognizing and saying that it's the truth, and we're going to be continually, spun around and freaking kicked to the curb. So.
Oh, let me give you a shining example. My current state representative, who's a Republican, I looked at his financials from the last election cycle, and he accepted $10,000 from an individual that lives, I think, near Cedar Rapids. And I never heard of this guy that gave him $10,000. And I looked it up, and this guy had a seed company that was very successful that he started 50, 60 years ago. He sold his seed company to Monsanto for, hundreds of millions, $1 billion. And that money, and this guy doesn't even live in this district, and he gave my state representative $10,000. I've spent less than $1,000 to run for this district, and thankfully the incumbent, my current state representative, decided not to seek re-election to the Iowa House. So it became what in the political parlance is called an open seat. And so, now it's open for the Republican Party to have a 3-way primary. There's 3 candidates in this race, and I'm hoping to win the nomination of the party in 10 days.
Say that again. It broke up. You're hoping to win the.
I'm hoping nomination in the primary election.
Yeah.
in 10 days.
So the primary election is what date?
June 2nd.
June 2nd.
Yep.
I think
In
I heard
Iowa, in Iowa, the primary election is the first June, or first Tuesday in June. That's when the primary election is.
Can people
And then
vote
across the
early?
nation, what's that?
Can people vote early?
Yes, people have been able to vote they call it in-person absentee. And so what you do is you can go to the courthouse and vote right now. There was a time period of about a week, a couple weeks ago, where you could request an absentee ballot. You have to fill out a special form that has a special code on it, and then the county auditor would mail you an absentee ballot, and then you could either hand deliver it to the courthouse or mail it in. But you can no longer vote absentee by mail, according to Iowa law. So now your only two options are to go to the courthouse or vote on election day, on primary day.
Okay.
And that's what I do. I go and vote on primary day.
Okay. So one of the things I just thought about, my dad's out in New Hampshire now. I think he's going to be out there all summer. How would he vote if he's not present? Is there a way?
Yeah, he would have needed to request an absentee ballot about 2 weeks ago. 2 or 3 weeks ago, he would have had to have requested a form from the county auditor.
Okay, so I mean that ship has sailed unless he did do it.
Yeah, that ship has sailed. Yeah.
But it is something for someone in the future if that's going to happen. And
yes, and Iowa reduced the number of days that you can vote by absentee. It used to be, I think it was close to 30 or 40 days before the election, you could request an absentee ballot and then get it sent to you and then send it back into the auditor at the courthouse. But the Republicans have tightened up the rules for voting, the number of days that you can vote. They shortened the number of hours on election day. You used to be able to vote until 9 p.m., and now the polls close at 8 p.m. And so, it makes it more difficult if you're, working in the afternoon shift, or if you work overnights. You got to make sure you make it to the polling place before they close.
all right. Anything else, Bryan, you want to add on the?
Well, I advocate that more of us average citizens start attending these party meetings. Go join a party or go as a guest to one of the party meetings. Each party has a central committee in each county in Iowa, and you can register with that party and join that party, and then you get to participate in the political process. What's something that's very important in Iowa is that in order to be a member of the central committee, which is the executive people that make the decisions for each county party, you must attend the Iowa caucus that we have every 2 years. And so you have to go there on caucus night and volunteer to be a delegate, and then the people in the room at the caucus site vote whether to allow you to be a member of the central committee. But once you're a member of the central committee, you can go to the monthly meetings and vote on motions before the party. And you can volunteer for other committees at the central committee. So there may be a committee that works on fundraising, another committee that works on organizing events for the party and for candidates. But I think the most important thing to do is be informed, educate yourself about the candidates, and look at who is going to be the best person on the ballot for this office that's going to represent me. Who's going to return my phone calls? Who's going to answer my emails? And most importantly, who's going to take my opinion into consideration and counsel with me before they vote on bills in the legislature?
It's one thing I've noticed with you, Bryan. Like on your Facebook posts, I see that you respond to everyone. And
yes, I think that's important.
I mean, if you go on to one of these other people, they ain't going to respond to you.
No, no, or they censor who can comment, or they'll remove I, in all my years of having a Facebook for 14 years almost, I very rarely have censored anybody or blocked anybody, and it was only after they were abusive or threatening to others on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
So,
Let me ask you this: what if you don't want to join a party? What if you feel like all the parties are
corrupt.
up and not doing you
Yeah.
right?
Well, and I've been there, done that. The difficulty with running for office as a candidate trying to win election is that as an independent, unaffiliated voter, you're sort of out there on your own in the wilderness. And in order to be successful, you almost have to start your own political social movement, because you need a certain number of votes to get elected. And if you don't have those people that know about you, can help you out, uh, it's sort of a lost cause. But there's still room for people that want to run, like I have done in the past, where you're just an advocacy candidate. You're there to bring up issues that the other major parties, the Republicans and Democrats, either don't discuss or they refuse to redress.
Mm-hmm.
So you're sort of like almost like a pioneer out there in the wilderness.
Hmm. All right. Yeah, it's a lot
Oh,
of
and one
work.
other thing is, and I always recommend, if you're unhappy with our government, run for office. Either run as an independent, run as a third party, or join one of the two major parties and run in the election. And
Uh,
then that way you can be an advocate for not just your issues, but your friends and family that don't feel like they're being represented.
yeah,
Because the people that are in power, in charge, they're not going to change the way that they represent us unless we speak up.
yeah. And I would also say if you start running for these things, start being proactive yourself, what ends up happening is you'll start seeing the truth around what really goes on, how it really operates. And I don't care if you ran on a Democratic ticket, a Republican ticket, a Libertarian, whatever ticket, you're going to see what really goes on. And I think it would
Oh,
be eye-opening.
absolutely. Yeah, you'll see how the party operates and how the party apparatus works, and how your fellow party members treat you. And I will say this, that I was hypercritical of the Republican Party over the last 7 or 8 years when I ran for public office outside of the party. But the party has been very welcoming to me since I rejoined the party back in September, when I announced I was running in the Republican primary for this state house district. So I will say that, and sometimes my criticism was fairly harsh, but what I said was no worse than what some Republicans did in terms of making it impossible for me to run for the U.S. House of Representatives by increasing my signatures and my ballot access burden. So I sort of look at it balancing which is worse, depriving someone of their right to run for office and advocate for freedom, or criticizing those that do. And
Yeah.
I think the sin that they committed was worse than my criticism.
No, 100%. I mean, come on, Brian, think about it as well. So what that we are they should be criticized. If you're going to be in that position, I mean, we've got people every single day that are going into poverty, losing their homes, losing their livelihood, and they should be criticized. Why is that happening? How come, we're not doing better? Why are prices so high? Why are we being taxed on every single thing 2 and 3 and 4 times? Why are there property taxes? This is something we can, talk about as well. And I know a little bit about being in real estate is, you know, why is someone taxed on their property when they have no intentions of ever selling that property?
Right,
Why
right.
is there an ongoing yearly tax that's paid on that? That should never happen. It should go away. It should go bye-bye. Anyone who says anything else and anyone who's involved in any of that is just flat wrong. They're wrong. It just should not happen. We should not be doing that. We should not be, it should not be a part of our stress. And what ends up happening is they create values that then you're taxed on those values that your next door neighbor sold their house for, then you're taxed on that value. Why? There's no value on your house if it's not being sold, period. There is no value. I don't value someone's house. Say someone's coming to me for a comp. I give them a value, right? Here's what I think that your house will sell for. If they don't, there is no value. There's no value on the house. There's zero. Of course, look, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's
no. You're being taxed on an unrealized gain. You're being taxed for an event that has not happened. You can't determine the fair market value if the product is not in the market. If it's not for sale, it's complete speculation to say what it would sell for because it's not being sold. So the event that preconditions the assessed value has not occurred and will never occur. Let me give you an example from my personal life. I'm 6'7". I'm the height of the average player in the NBA. I don't pay income taxes like I have a contract with the Chicago Bulls or the Denver Nuggets. Just because I'm tall shouldn't mean I have to pay the taxes that I could have to pay if I was a professional athlete. So I don't know if that sort of makes some sense.
Make sense. It's a great example and a great way to put it, and makes a lot of sense to me for sure. It's
we're not taxed on our potential. We're taxed on.
What do you think about sales tax?
The difficulty with sales tax is they use the sales tax, the legislatures, as sort of a weapon to control our behaviors as citizens and consumers. They favor certain products and services to assign a tax to, and then other ones they do not tax. So it allows them basically to divide and conquer and to favor their friends in certain professions and industries. I'll give you a brief story from the state of Nebraska, which is the state across the Missouri River to the west of me, that about 20 years ago, a state legislator who was an attorney wanted the barbers in the state to pay sales tax for cutting hair and the hairstylists. And someone in the legislature was in that profession. He was a barber. And he said, well, if you're going to tax me, why don't we tax you lawyers over your work product? That you attorneys should have to pay a sales tax on the services that you provide. And the lawyer in the legislature, his counter argument was, well, we don't need that much money. So
they already make enough.
Yeah, it's so some people don't like it when their own ox gets gored. But they like to stick it to other people that they have power over. So.
I'm glad you brought that up. And one thing that I would say, Bryan, is you and I are donkey riders. I think about this, and it came to me recently when Jesus rode into the temple, which it's a good couple of scriptures to read about when Jesus went into the temple and started turning over the money tables and calling out the money changers, and they were taxing and, basically spending money on the Sabbath as well. And the Sabbath is supposed to be a holy day where no transactions occur. But when he was riding into town, he rode in on a donkey, not a white horse, not some freaking thoroughbred, not in a Porsche, not in the most extravagant, great thing. And, and this just brings me reminds me of Ann Narmy, one of our, alumni. I think she was a year behind.
I think she was a year younger than you.
Yeah, a year younger than me. But one of the things that she talked about was, it is expensive for the education at St. Albert, but people sacrifice their salaries and the nice car and the huge house for their kids to have a faith-based education, and an education that is based around the principles of Christ, and the principles and the Ten Commandments, and you know, all of that that's involved. And you know, even us having a conversation about this right now, Bryan, would never come up. You don't ever hear, they'll talk about Christianity, but it's always a surface level, you know. And I just want to share this as well, that I watched a video recently, and if someone, I think I put it on my Facebook, so it's on there, but it was on the part when Christ was being crucified, and he said, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And until like recently, I'd always taken that as like, yeah, why did God not help him, man? This is the Son of God. This is God up there on the cross. You know, why wouldn't he have helped? What? Come on, you know, this guy was having nails driven through his hands and his arms. But where that him saying that is related to is Psalm 22. And I'm going to go in this, and there's a specific verse in Psalm 22, but the very beginning of Psalm 22 starts out, my God, why have you forsaken me? That's what he was referencing. And by the way, next time you're being nailed to a cross, try to come up with some Psalms in your head, okay? There is one miracle right there. There's no way. I guarantee you, if you're in that much pain, and I would hope, I say that, I hope that if I was ever in that painful situation, actually I have, that I would remember that. But in that pain, he comes up with that psalm. So you can look up Psalm 22. In verse 6, it says that it talks about a worm. In Hebrew, the word for just like a regular worm is not the word that was used. The word that was used, and you can look this up in a lexicon in the Strong's, and look that up. It says toleo. Toleo is T-O-L-E-A, I think, is how you spell it. It's a specific kind of worm. What this worm does, this female worm, when she's about ready to have her babies, climbs up this tree. All right, you're going to see these parallels. Christ on the cross, a tree. He was on a tree. He was being crucified on the lumber, on the wood. What this worm does is crawls up on this tree, and what she's doing is she's sacrificing herself just as Christ sacrificed himself. And in this sacrifice, what she does, she gives her life up for her kids. She creates a shell around these kids so that they can be born, and then they end up eating her. And then, you know, that's a part of the, you know, eating the bread and having the wine, and we, you know, in company in the Last Supper, and we engage with each other. And to me, it's what you're talking about, Bryan, in, you know, loving your neighbor and decentralization, and you representing people that are actually in your township, in your district, in your neighborhood. But then what ends up happening is this worm ends up dying, as Christ ended up dying. The other thing, what happens when she's dying, there's a red stain that's emitted from her that goes down that cross. The blood of Christ coming down the cross, coming down the tree for the bug. I never knew that. Never heard anyone, and you can look this up, and you can look up this particular kind of worm. I did, and it all checks out. And I'd never heard anyone ever share anything like that before. I'd never heard that, and maybe you've heard it, Bryan.
No, I haven't. That's You've brought me some news. So
yeah,
I'm not a biblical religious scholar, and so I enjoy learning from other people that can enlighten me. So
yeah, and it's one of the things that you and I did, having a Catholic education growing up like that. We were introduced and you know, had every semester. I don't ever recall not having some type of you know, class on the Bible, you know, some type of faith-based class that we were in. You know, Father Bud, I remember, was one of my teachers. I don't know if he taught you as well.
Yeah, he did. He did.
So, yeah, and so anyways, I think it's important, and it shouldn't be dismissed, and we should talk about it and have conversations about this, and make sure that as Christians, we have a voice, and it's okay for us um, to share our beliefs in Jesus Christ and know that He is our Lord and Savior. Period. End of story. Like it says very, very clearly, knock and the door shall be open. But you got to knock on Jesus's door. If Jesus's door is not being knocked on, in my opinion, does it? And also I share that, and anyone can be saved. Anyone can be saved. It's not for me or specific to any type of race, culture, or anything like that. So, all right.
Well, I just look at what, the WWJD, what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
How would he treat people? Me running for this office and other offices, I've always offered my fellow candidates, were I to win the election, a seat at the table. Like Dr. Narmi said, let's build a bigger table so everybody can be there and sit with us and decide on things.
Exactly.
Instead of building walls and fences to keep people out.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it reminds me of what the disciples ultimately did as well. Is they didn't hold on to this thing. They had to give it away in order to keep it. And what they did is they went out to the lost sheep and traveled hundreds, if not, I think they went thousands of miles to go to the lost sheep and share the message and bring them back into the fold. And, another story that I think of, and you being in sports, and this always resonated with me, if you have 100 sheep and one of them leaves, you go get the lost sheep. No matter what, you go get someone who's lost, and we take care of them. We do not shoot our wounded. We don't throw people to the wolves. We don't treat people who are maybe in need or on the street like they're crap, or some second-class citizen because they're down. I don't know what's happened to them, but I think it's important that everyone is considered, and this is why I also think tithing is so important. God has called me, and I think called us, to make sure that we are taking care of the weak and the needy and the impoverished. So,
well, we were raised to respect the inherent dignity and the value of every person's life.
Yeah.
And their experiences. And, you never, if you've seen the Band of Brothers, series on HBO, if you're in a position of leadership, you never want to put yourself in a position to take something from those that would follow you. You always want to give of yourself, and you give to the point that it hurts. And,
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And, we've won a lot of basketball games, and there's respect.
Your team's won more than mine, but
but there's respect, for everyone who's on the court. There's always that respect for the opponent, and it takes a lot for anyone to step out in any platform, political, sporting event, whatever it is. So, Bryan, I think that's all I've got. If there was anything else you wanted to add, and
well, it's just I look at these elections and stuff, and I'm running to represent people in other counties, and I think that if we could have really good sportsmanship from our St. Albert teams, and we do. And I love something about St. Albert is that after the football games, they play Sister Sledge, We Are Family. So whether the Falcons win or lose, they play that in the stadium, and everybody can leave the event with this fellowship of a brotherhood and sisterhood. And I think that's very important to continue that tradition. So,
yeah. One final note here, and someone makes it this far into this. There was in the state semifinals 2 years in a row. Bryan, this. We were playing against MFL Marmac in the state semifinals, and the first year we were playing them, within the first couple of minutes of the game, it was in the first quarter somewhere, I drove baseline against the guy. And just so Bryan knows this, Bryan's 6'7", I'm 5'8", on a really good day. Rafe LaFrance is 7 foot, so LaFrance is about, what is that, 5 or 6 inches taller than Bryan.
Yeah.
I drove baseline on him and dropped the teardrop jumper over the top of him, and and it just got our team, it got the fans all excited, and it reminds me of a couple of things, and it goes back to Christ. Is there's no fear, only faith. There's nothing to fear. Doesn't matter who we're playing against, and in this situation, and honestly, it feels like that sometimes, Bryan, that we're driving baseline on that 7-footer, or you're having to deal with me, out in the open court. It's like, what am I going to do with this guy? But you know what? Here's the thing. We keep moving forward. We do not give up, even in the difficult and what can seem like an unsurmountable obstacle, as a 7-footer in front of us, a super quick guy out in the open court, looking for that lost sheep where we don't know where it is, winning a political seat, running for a political seat, taking the steps to even figure out. And maybe, what we can do is, even just go through I think it'd be good to go through a process like, hey, someone wants to run for a political office. What do you need to do? What are the steps that you have to do? I think you mentioned a little bit in the caucus, and I'm somewhat familiar with it just growing up there, but wasn't as politically minded as I have become over the years, and of course here in Texas it's different, and probably everywhere across the country. But Bryan, I appreciate what you're doing, and you've been an inspiration to me. You've been really helpful for me to help with my political understandings, and I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your honor, integrity, and dignity. And I think that anyone who knows you and really sincerely, truly knows you would say the same thing. Again, you're not perfect. I know that. I don't think you're even claiming to be, but we've got to have a change, and we've got to look at these things differently. We've got to think about these things differently.
Well, we have a constitution here in this country, and we've got the Declaration of Independence. This summer, we're going to be celebrating 250 years since the Declaration of Independence. And, those founding fathers, those political leaders, they had courage, but we also need people that have the courage of those brave Minutemen and militiamen that fought the British for over a year. The average farmer was fighting for over a year before the politicians gave voice and gave word to what they were fighting for. And so we can't always rely on the political class to do things. Sometimes some of us have to raise our hand and say, you know what, I'm going to speak out. I'm going to say something. I'm going to run for office, and I'm going to inspire other people. And, by doing that, you're not alone. You're never alone. And you just may set that spark that frees this country from the problems that we currently have. So,
yeah. Man, thank you, Bryan. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan.
Let's do this again. I'd like to do another
Definitely
live before your June 2nd. So
yeah,
we'll figure it out and get it on the calendar. But thank you, everyone, for being here, and go Falcons. One quick little shout out as well. Congratulations.
That's right. Go Falcons.
Congratulations.
Go Saints.
To Ben Crone. Yeah, Falcons and Saints. Congratulations to Ben Crone for making state, right? Is that right, Bryan?
Yep. He made the state golf.
And Ben's parents were classmates of mine, Kelly and Brad. So good job, you guys, and keep it up. And I think we've got some Saints and Falcons in the state track meet. Lily Denton, who's just an absolute phenom, who's actually coming down here to Texas. So
right.
Hopefully maybe I'll get to go out and see her run possibly at some time, and that'd be pretty cool. But thanks, Bryan. And
thank you, Ryan. And I want to thank you. You said some very nice words I feel the same way about you, brother. I love you.
Thank you.
Anything I can ever do to help you and your success and your family, just let me know. So
okay. Thank you, Bryan. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. Have a good day.
You too. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.